Hey, Lierre.
Yeah, is that Jimmy?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for calling.
Well, I have been inundated with people wanting to hear from you, and I was like, well, I've got this show that airs twice a week. Come on. I wanted to give you a chance to respond because it's one thing to write it like you did on your Facebook page, but it's yet another thing for them to actually hear your voice. And I wanted desperately to get you out there because, this was just awful what they did.
Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate the support.
Well,
It's been amazing. I've gotten like literally hundreds of emails from people, most of them absolute strangers who are just appalled by what happened. And it's just so wonderful to have that kind of a response.
well, and I'm sure for you, it's like, this kind of proves a lot of the points that you talk about in your very book. The people that did that need to read your book.
I know that's like the deep irony of this is they've only proved every point that I'm making about how, if you don't eat enough saturated fat and get the right kind of protein, you cannot have a balanced emotional life, and it makes you angry, and you can't. It makes you like this. I've been there. I was a vegan for 20 years. I know how bad they feel inside, but so it does. It will make you violent and self-destructive and rigid, and you're always on a hair trigger. So that anybody would consider me an appropriate target is kind of ridiculous. I don't have any power in the world. I'm not torturing chickens or cows. I'm not a vivisectionist. I'm not an oil executive. There's people out there who are doing terrible things to our planet, and I'm one of the people who's actually trying to stop that. It just seems so. It's so self-destructive. It's just. This is a movement that if this is the best they can come up with, this movement is really dead.
Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the most unassuming people in this whole field. You wouldn't think Lierre Keith, a great danger to society, has to have a cayenne pepper pie thrown in at her face. Now, for the people that haven't heard about this incident yet, kind of tell us a little bit about what happened. It happened on Saturday, just this past Saturday, March. What was it, the 13th?
March 12th, 13th. Yeah. Well, we could back up 1 minute. I got an email on Friday from somebody who had found on a website for vegans that they were planning to harass me when I was in San Francisco, and he felt really bad about it. And this is somebody with a conscience, and he emailed me the link, and he said, I think you need to know about this.
Yeah.
So I went and I read everything, and they are very gleefully planning my downfall and saying that they're going to do these terrible things, and it's going to be so much fun. And the plan was to do something terrible to me, to film it with their little cameras, and then to post it on YouTube that night. And then at a certain point, the discussion goes offline, and they take it private. Now, I can't prove that these are the people who assaulted me, but that's not looking good. So I emailed that around to some of my friends and colleagues, and I said, what should I do? And at that point, we were figuring they were just going to disrupt. They would try to shout me down or, have stupid flyers or something. And everybody said, well, just don't take questions, just don't give them the opportunity. And if they misbehave while you're talking, just wait for security, and, the venues will work it out. So I was all right. It never occurred to me they were going to assault me. So then on Saturday morning, when I arrived it was at the Anarchist Book Fair in San Francisco. It's a beautiful venue, and they've put on this event for a few years now. And the people who put it on are really great. One of them is Ramsey Canaan, who's my publisher at PM Press. So this is one of his events that he puts on. So I told them about, there was this website and these people are planning to harass me. And they were like, it doesn't really amount to much usually. They tend to be, all bark and no bite. So, we're not going to worry about it. Well, we totally misjudged it. I myself as well, I should have insisted on security. So, all right, my talk was at 2 o'clock, and I went in, and in hindsight, there were clearly people there who knew what was coming. They sat in the front row. They had these really smug expressions on their faces, and they were wearing, various slogans on their shirts and stuff. And I just, I gave my talk, and about halfway into it, suddenly the world went black, and there was blinding pain in my eyes, and I was being assaulted. And I have to say that the worst moment of the assault was hearing people in the audience cheer. The thought that we live in a world where people would cheer as somebody was having, red pepper smashed into their eyes is just really sickening, and it was really horrible. So, so they hit me a bunch of times, and then they ran out. Now, from this point forward, I couldn't see what was happening, of course. The world was completely black. So I was told that there were 3 of them, that there's some question about whether the third one was a man or a woman, but at first they said it was all men. So at least the first 2 people were men. They were substantially taller than me. And the thing to know about me is that I have a degenerative disease of the spine, so I have no strength. I mean, they might as well have kicked a kitten. I mean, this was such an unfair fight. It's pathetic, really, that they would pick on me.
So, Lierre, did you see them coming before?
No, they was all from behind. I was standing at the podium talking, and they came up from behind me and did this. There was a stage behind, and nobody was using the stage. The speakers were all on the floor. So they were able to get in through some kind of back entrance through the back of the stage, and they ran on, and then they hit me, and then they all ran off. And I think the audience, the people who weren't supporting it, I mean, there were absolutely people there who were horrified. There's no question. I got a lot of support later, but nobody knew what to do. I think they were just stunned because it was all over in 5 seconds, And so they ran off, and there was one man actually who tried to chase them down, but they had too much of a lead. So they were not apprehended, and I don't know that they ever will be. There are clearly people in that room who know where they were. Whether or not one of them will have a conscience and come forward, I think is unlikely, because when you are in that world, it really is one part cult, and I don't think that anyone is going to break ranks. So. And I think that's a shame. I think it's really shameful what happened. This is not a fair fight. This has nothing to do with dialogue. And, the really stupid part, the really heartbreaking part is that these are probably people with whom I share some really basic values. And this was not the world that I wanted. And I thought it was also not the world that they wanted. I thought they were after a world that was about justice and compassion and, some kind of kindness to each other, but apparently not. So anyway, from that point forward, there was a whole bunch of women who gathered around me and helped me get to the bathroom, and they helped me flush my eyes, and they got me clean clothes. And the organizers of the event were wonderful, and they all stayed in a really tight circle around me and made sure that I felt physically safe. They got me out of the building. They called the police. We gave a statement to the police. I didn't let anybody come near me who, wasn't friendly. Offered to take me to the emergency room. They made sure I got a ride home. And then that night when I spoke at the bookstore, there was a security that my publisher sent to make sure that I was safe. They walked me all the way from the bookstore to where I was staying, just stayed by my side the whole time. I mean, the support that I've gotten has been phenomenal, and I have to say that in that regard I'm really lucky. I think that most people who experience an assault or a violation, it takes a long time to feel like the world is okay again, because you sort of have to put all the pieces back together that have been shattered. But having this many people come forward and tell me that this was wrong, that it never should have happened, that they've got my back, it really helps that repair process happen a lot quicker. And I just wish that everyone who was assaulted could feel that kind of love and support, in sort of a general way, because that's what makes you know that the world is an okay place. Even if these terrible things happen, it's not all like that. There's still good in the world. So I've been very lucky,